What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of the Apple TV Plus original series, Smoke Season 1. This will follow Episode 2, which is called You're Happy Makes Me Sad. It is directed by Chappelle. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Lehane is known for going for it, and he has gone for it in this episode. We pretty much know who one of the arsonists is. It's Frankie from the chicken restaurant. And we were still wondering who is the second arsonist, whether it was going to be a big reveal later on. There's always been kind of a couple of people that could be the arsonist. Could be the side boyfriend to Michelle. It could be that firefighter that we saw earlier, the one that was in kind of gave her a bunch of crap. It was always going to be somebody that was close, but I don't think anyone. Well, I mean, I guess if you really think about it, and what Dave goes through and what he talks about, whether he is a copycat, it really makes a lot of sense that he's the arsonist. And it's a pretty big reveal because it's a pretty standard one for Dennis Lehane, to be fairly honest. They throw a lot of curveballs. Like, once again, you go back to Mystic River, there's a lot of curveballs thrown, especially blaming, the Tim Robbins character and stuff like that. And here it's just, he's a guy that he's exactly who he specifies who an arsonist is, which is very lonely, very sad, very atypical, non-plus person that you least expect. Dave being the other arsonist makes a lot of sense because he's in a relationship with a woman who is constantly bickering, that he's constantly bickering with, who doesn't make him feel happy. She has a kid that really doesn't treat him very well. And as the episode moves along, the veneer, and this is what he shows with his captain, who's played by Kinnear, is that he's just a very lonely person and very sad person. And even with his book, which she lies about the fact that his book is very good, which you can tell she lies about the fact that she says that he needs more females in it, which is the thing that the person who rejects him, the book company rejects him, says needs more females, which is really telling. You could start to see the kind of pieces fall apart. I didn't expect him to do it this quickly, to have Dave be the arsonist that quickly. I expected, episode 4 or 5, halfway through the season. But it's a bold choice. It really is. I give him a lot of credit for doing it. And this episode is it's a lot of fun. It is a really good episode. It is a little campy in some places, especially the nature of the firefighter being a prepper and a QAnon lover and stuff like that. And, depending on how you feel, if you feel very political, I definitely understand. But Dennis Lehane, very much in his writers, directors, have a stance on this kind of stuff and what it feels like. But I think they do a good job of towing the line and towing the kind of the nature of what exactly is happening. I just think the episode's really good. It goes to really some interesting places. It makes characters really interesting. I think, Jurnee Smollett is kind of turned into the lead of this episode. On top of everything, she's dealing with some stuff she's not talking about. Dave sees an email from a law firm. We find out that somebody's in jail and that, the board in prison, the ones that release people, they have set a date for a hearing. And I'm assuming either the woman she's talking to is her sister or a former girlfriend or somebody. I don't know. It seems like the person in jail is the mother of these two individuals, of the Michelle character, the Jurnee Smollett character. So maybe she's really close to what an arsonist is, with the mother setting fire and causing a lot of damage. Maybe it's like a former ex-husband or ex-wife or something like that. We're not entirely sure because they haven't released all the information for it, but we're given enough information now to know that something tragic happened either in her life or to a kid that she knew, or a kid that she had that she lost in a fire accident. I mean, who knows? We'll find out a little more later on, I'm sure. The whole point of this episode is to get to who the second arsonist is, but also give us more information about who Frankie is as an individual and more of the home life of Dave's character and stuff like that. And I love the balance that it strikes. I love the fact that Frankie is more of a complex character than they give him in the very first episode. The very first episode, he's very quiet. He's very much made fun of. He's an individual that sets a fire that really harms the husband of this family. There's this woman, Debbie or Deborah or whatever her name is, who really sees a much more deep inner kind of niceness to this character, that there's something more powerful to Frankie's character, and she tries to bring it out, and she tries to get him to like move past his life, his boring life and stuff like that, even though we have another employee who just really kind of puts him down, even though he seems kind of like his only friend. But Frankie sees the opportunity to, because he has a GED, to possibly get in a management position, or at least a leadership position for this chicken restaurant. And I like that Frankie is a more complex, he's not a villain, he's just a misunderstood individual that has done bad things. So whether you think that's a villain or not is kind of entirely up to you and your logical thinking. But I like the fact that he is just an individual that's quiet. He doesn't have anybody with him, and he is somebody who just isn't looked upon very well, and that causes a lot of strife among people. You know, if you don't have a support structure, you don't have a structure or anything like that, you can do things that could end up hurting you or hurting someone in the long run. And having this lady, Deborah, just be kind of the anchor point to maybe something better. And you see it like when he's getting his hair done, and like all the grease is coming, the disgusting grease is coming out of his hair, and she's working on his hair. He has tears coming down his eyes. And, you know, it's really kind of an interesting way to propose a character that could be just a straight up villainous kind of, you know, Dexter the Weak type character, but there's more to him. And I appreciate that from the writing staff and the crew, and not to go down the easy path of an individual that is very, I mean, clearly is disturbed, and like you worry about the Deborah character and whether she's going to be, you know, hurt in the end. I think giving that dimension and making it more of a more complex and more kind of not straightforward is a not well-worn, but well-deserved kind of aspect of the story, and I really appreciate that. And then you have, like, you know, you go past all that, which is, it's one act of the story, but it's a pretty important act. But you get into the Michelle stuff where she is very kind of in your face, and she's very straightforward, and she has complex emotions about what she should do, and she gets into like fun arguments with Dave about how they should handle things. And they find this the firefighter going to this plot of land, and they're not entirely sure why he's going there, but they assume maybe that's where he's putting all his arsonist stuff. And I like the fact that if you sit back and watch it, Dave is clearly foreshadowing that he's the arsonist because of how he reacts, how he interacts with Michelle's character, and how he just kind of plays off like, oh, no, he's definitely not, because there's no way that he would be the arsonist. And there are signs there that Dave is the arsonist, which is kind of interesting. But I love the fact that though Michelle knows she needs a warrant, though she is, you know, not entirely sure that this guy is the arsonist, she goes ahead and breaks into his house, you know, his second house or whatever, and finds all these guns, finds a QAnon sign, finds a bunker with a S&M facility, so who knows what's going to happen down there. And it's really disturbing stuff. I mean, the idea of like prepping is the doomsday scenario. I mean, it's realistic stuff. I mean, people do it, but, you know, she goes down there and she sees all these weapons, so who knows what, you know, this firefighter is going to do. And then she shoots the firefighter in both his legs and plays it off like he was going off to do a murder situation where he was going to go be a killer of a bunch of people. And you know, we all know that she did the wrong thing, and she's trying to hide what she did. And, you know, whether this firefighter was going to do something serious, it more feels like he was prepping for something that he believed was going to happen. And yeah, she is celebrated for her win against a guy who could have been a, you know, serial murderer. And she is confronted by the Rafe Spall character, her you know, secret lover, and he knows what she did, and she knows what she did. And she has ideas, because we see a flashback to Rafe Spall's character smoking a cigarette. He has the lighter. It also could be that two people are working in tangent. Two people are these single arsonists, you know. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, Dave's character could be a copycat. I mean, Rafe Spall could be like the leader of this group. I mean, who the heck knows? But we know that Dave sets off the fire in this convenience store. This, I think it's like a Walgreens looking type of store, and he has a smile on his face, and it's just a really interesting. Because when we go to the bar where they're celebrating Michelle's win, we learn from the fire captain or the arsonist captain or whatever that Dave, of course, never shows up to these things, which is really suspect, really sus, because it's like Dave seems a very closeted individual, very kind of taken aback. And when Michelle is talking to the Rafe Spall captain character, she says that she has a possible idea of who the arsonist could be. And it's maybe she knows this Dave. I mean, the way she has that flashback scene, it's just there's a lot of, stuff that hasn't been revealed. But it is really telling that Dave would be an arsonist because he dealt with the incident with the fire situation, which could lead into more revelations that he started that fire that caused him to become an arsonist investigator. And if you look at something like Dexter, which this series feels like it's kind of homaging to when it comes to the main character being the kind of lead example of the one they're searching for, Dave could be an individual that is very good at what he does, but also has a hidden agenda to what he's doing. And I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I love some of the small stuff in this. I love the fact that, like, he gets really upset at the kid who tells him to go F himself because it's, not his home. And, the mother's really upset because this kid could have the ability to move and have a, college life, stuff like that. Dave is not really, respondent to the fact of her needs. And he complains to his captain earlier in the episode, and he gets really upset at the kid and then walks out, and there feels like there's some abuse situations going on. There's very much complex situations that, once again, because this is co-written by Dennis Lehane, is very much in his wheelhouse and stuff like that. And I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff in this episode. There's a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of opening up of Pandora's box on what could exactly be happening. And so therefore, it really feels like a very well put together, very cool procedural drama in a lot of respects that is taking a lot of different angles and moving into a very interesting kind of idea and concept of what it could do. And I really think Jurnee Smollett's really good in this episode. I think the gentleman who plays Frankie, who has a very long name and I don't want to mispronounce it, does a really nice job, and I think is very much an interesting character to watch. And Dave, who is very complex in his emotions and does things that we find out as the end of this episode reveals, puts him in a predicament. So we'll see how it plays out. So that's the second episode of this season. It's actually a good idea that they premiered both of them at the same time because it leads into some questions. It'll allow people to have some interesting concepts and interesting conversations if they really get into this series. And I'm really interested and really intrigued on where this series is going to go. And I'm going to keep talking about it because I find it fascinating. And yeah, I really liked this episode. I really liked it a lot. So overall, a very good episode, a very intriguing episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it heads next. And with that said, for my official score, I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. Once again, it's a little campy in some places, but a 9.5 out of 10 is where I feel. So You're Happy Makes Me Sad, which is the second episode of the first season of Smoke, now on, of course, Apple TV. That's my review. So there you go. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, what did you think of this episode overall? Did you like it? Did you like the reveal of Dave being the arsonist? Tell me what you think of your overall thoughts on this episode. So with that said, thank you so much. If you like what you see in this video, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find out what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.